RSN team. I'm Carol Talbert, RSN Field Operations Support Team Manager. Welcome back to the Parts Closer to the Customer podcast series, where we examine multiple operational initiatives that are in progress, and we review the long-term impact and metrics that will help us achieve success as a support organization. Today, we introduce our third episode, focused on FSL and trunk stock. To help us dive a bit deeper, we welcome Director, Regional Systems Support and Operations, Mike Sall. Mike, thank you for joining me today.
Thank you for having me, Carol.
So we've set the clock to ensure we're focused, but let's jump right in. Is that all right?
That's great.
Okay. A few questions here at the start. So bear with me. Where did this journey start? How long has this journey progressed from where it was to our current state? And what's the goal of this strategy?
Yeah, Carol, so the journey began in 2016 and with 3 focused workshops sponsored between GCS, spare parts, RSN participants, including field leadership, global spares planning, RSS back office, FedEx, and Flash. We knew the goals of the workshop to determine spare parts and FSLs and trunk stock was a start, not perfect, but just a start. At the time, the parts we had in FSLs and trunks only covered 20% of the parts consumed on service activities in the U.S. Subsequently, each year, the percentage coverage increased. For 2019, the parts in FSLs and trunk combined covered 65% of all service activities, with 57% of that coming out of the trunk stock required in inventory. For 2020, the total dropped to 49% and 43% coming from trunk stock. However, for 2020, the overall increased investment in inventory across the U.S. trunk stock network went up and increased $400,000. Our goal, right parts, right place, at the right time, through statistically placing parts in FSLs and in trunk stock that have the highest failure rates and the highest criticality.
So Mike, let me take it down to a very basic question then. What is an FSL? How, why, and when are they to be used?
Good question, Carol. So FSL stands for Forward Stocking Location. Today they're managed by Flash, in the future by FedEx. The rules for using an FSL are simple. Instrument down, no backup for customer, same-day repair is needed. The FSL can drive the part to the FES or customer, or the FES can pick up the part at the FSL. It's their choice. The FSL is stocked with parts that are critical, i.e. will take the instrument down, and have a failure rate of 5% or greater nationally for the prior year. 2 other factors that would put a part in an FSL instead of trunk stock would be large-size parts and/or high-dollar parts.
Good. All right. Thank you. Okay. Then what's the purpose of trunk stock?
So, Carol, trunk stock inventory consists of parts with a failure rate of 5% or greater from the prior year. The purpose of this is to enable the FES to have the right part at the right place at the right time. This is really the backbone of parts closer to the customer.
So big question then, who owns this inventory in the FSL, in the trunks, or at customer sites?
Yeah, so good question. So inventory is an asset on our financial books and ties up cash, right? So FSL inventory is owned by GCS Spares. Trunk stock inventory is actually owned by us, by RSN. Customer trunk stock location inventory is owned by RSN. Excess return inventory is owned by GCS Spares after their receiving is completed by Flash and it's processed through the Flash process.
So a lot of people own that inventory. Okay. Is the field involved in determining parts that are either in the FSL or in the trunk stock, or what kind of field involvement is part of this decision-making process?
Yes, Carol. So through this entire journey, the field has been involved in the entire process. Each year, actually, field involvement has increased. So in fact, we brought volunteers in from the field, FESs, into an Indy workshop in November to be an integral part of this, determining the 2020 FSL and trunk stock parts. In total, there were 28 field volunteers that supported the workshop, 15 in the workshop and an additional 13 supporting pre- and post-workshop activity. Final analysis of the proposed 2020 inventory is complete. If anyone in the field has examples of parts that need to be reviewed, speak up. Send feedback to the field inventory team to enable us to research that feedback.
Thank you, Mike. I think that's really key. There was a lot of good feedback last year from people that did speak up. If you don't speak up, we don't know. And the process, like you said, isn't perfect and continues to improve, so that feedback's critical. Okay, another question that comes at us a lot. Why are we required to return parts that are not approved or quantities of parts that are greater than what's approved quantity before that day 14?
Yeah, so Carol, just like anything else, a part of this business process, right? Inventory is an asset. and we tie up cash to invest in inventory. We do it strategically, but we still tie up cash. And FES is an expensive warehouse, right? So by returning unused parts to Flash, the parts are available at the central warehouse location for the next FES, which needs that particular part. Keeping the inventory at the central warehouse also reduces the overall network of inventory. This translates to freeing up Roche cash. The goal is to get the unused parts returned in a timely manner to reduce the overall Roche cash tied up in this asset.
So it's all about cash.
It's all about cash.
And the right cash being available for the right parts, the right time at the right place. I
Absolutely.
love it. That makes sense. Okay. What is auto replenishment of required trunk stock, and how does that process work, Mike?
Yeah, Carol, so this is actually done by your team. You know it best. The trunk stock parts are set up by the business unit and profiles within the business unit, HE600, for instance, COBA 6000, Integra 400, etc. If you're a primary on an instrument, you're assigned the profile of a required trunk stock. You'll receive replenishment if you consume on a service activity a required trunk stock part. Replenishment is ran weekly. One key point, Carol, required trunk stock is both a part and a quantity for that part, right? So some parts have a required quantity greater than one.
Ooh, that's a good point. I do know in the workshops in November that a lot of the field input was on increasing some of the quantities of the part that they had in their trunk stock. Yeah. It wasn't just that part, but I need more than one to do that activity for an instrument when it's down.
Good point.
Oh, thank you, Mike. So thank you for taking your time today. I really appreciate it. Certainly helps us at a high level understand the journey that we've been on and this continuous improvement that we'll continue to see and feel with this FSL and trunk stock. And as I've stated previously, our goal in this new podcast series is to provide you with these digestible updates on our Parts Closer to the Customer initiative. Stay tuned for our next episode where we will review the new field service solution strategy in a bit more detail with Michael Santamaria. So again, Mike Sall, thank you for your time today. Greatly appreciate it. And until then, remember, right parts, right place, right time.
Right parts,
Mike?
right place, right time. Thanks, Carol.
Love it. Thanks, Mike.